Welcome back to the College Sports Superfan. Today we've got some great Thursday night games coming up for week one, so let's get right into it. All right, we're going to talk about the first game, North Carolina at Minnesota. This is probably going to be the best game of Thursday night. Two very solid Power 4 teams. North Carolina Tar Heels out of the ACC, Minnesota Golden Gophers out of the Big Ten. Minnesota is the home team, and last year they played each other for the first time ever in Chapel Hill. North Carolina won that game 31-13, though, as Drake May, future top 3 NFL pick, had over 400 passing yards in that game. Fortunately for Minnesota, Drake May is gone. Many of his playmakers are gone, and now they have a new quarterback, which is likely going to be Max Johnson. And interestingly enough, for Minnesota, they might have a much better quarterback this time around too, in Max Brosmer, transferring in from University of New Hampshire, where he put up huge numbers playing for that lower division team. The other question, though, with Max Brosmer, though, is he hasn't faced a whole lot of serious competition before. He played for New Hampshire, and they only play one top-tier team a year. This year, they're on the road against UCF. So does he have the true experience to take on a team like North Carolina? We'll get into that in just a second. Right now, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels are 2-point favorites. When the game was first announced, Minnesota was slight favorites. It was like 2.5. Then all of a sudden it shifted to UNC. It was 1.5. Now it's 2. And the reason for that shift is the health concerns of Minnesota's top 2 playmakers. Darius Taylor, who broke out as a superstar freshman running back last year, did suffer an injury, and he's still nursing that injury, so he is questionable to be the starting running back for Minnesota. The good news for the Golden Gophers is they have an offensive lineman named Ariante Irsay, who could be a first-round NFL pick, and that offensive line as a whole is a really good unit, so no matter who they put at running back, could still have some success. And they did bring in a transfer, Marcus Major from Oklahoma. So if Darius Taylor isn't ready to go, they could put him in and still have a really good line, might still be able to have some good running lanes. The other big concern, though, is star wide receiver Daniel Jackson. He's a senior, very talented. He's going to be a huge help to Max Brosmer, but he is also questionable for this Week 1 game. So you're breaking in a new quarterback who's never played at the top level before, and he's without his top 2 playmakers. That's kind of tricky, and that's why the line has shifted in favor of the road team, Tar Heels. Speaking of North Carolina, they got plenty of playmakers for quarterback Max Johnson as well. They bring in Omarion Hampton, who is arguably the best running back last season. He was one of the top 3 best running backs for sure. Was towards the top of the country in rushing yards. He returns at running back, should be one of the best players in the country this season for the Tar Heels. So they're going to look to utilize him quite a bit. They're also going to look to utilize their tight ends. They got 2 good tight ends, Bryson Nesbitt, who's a very good hybrid receiver tight end. They also bring in Jake Johnson, who's Max Johnson's brother, so there's a lot of chemistry there already. Overall in the receiving core, it's not greatest, but double tight end sets could prove dangerous towards Minnesota. So let's talk about what will happen in this game. I'm expecting it to be a very close game, under the lights, Thursday night at Minnesota. PJ Fleck needs a big win. He thinks the Golden Gophers could have a good season. For North Carolina, they need this win just as badly. This first game could end up defining whether these teams have, a 6-win season or whether they could have anywhere up to an 8-win season. All could be built up on the momentum of this first game. But I'm going to lean towards Minnesota in this one. I'm going to say the Golden Gophers win by 3. Why? I'm expecting the defense to muddle things up. If they can find a way to shut down the run, if they can stop Omarion Hampton, which this front 7 is capable of doing, then I believe they'll ride the home crowd momentum and win this football game. That's exactly what I pick is going to happen here. Minnesota wins by 3. I'm 0 for 1 so far in my predictions, so hopefully I've got 3 games here, and hopefully I'll get back onto a winning record. Let's talk about North Dakota State at Colorado. I debated talking about this one because the spread is a little bit bigger, and I like to only talk about close games on this channel. But this is a highly anticipated game, so I figured it'd be good to get into it. And North Dakota State is an FCS powerhouse. Just about everybody knows that. They're not your average FCS team. If you're playing them or Montana State, as we saw, or Montana or South Dakota State, you know you're not playing a real FCS team. You're playing a legitimate top-tier team. North Dakota State last year went to the FCS semifinals and lost in a double overtime thriller on the road to the Montana Grizzlies in one of the best games of the year. And this year they returned star quarterback Cam Miller, who's returning for his 5th year. So talk about experience. Cam Miller has plenty of it, and his numbers are incredible over these last 4 years, and he's been a true dual threat quarterback. So everybody wants to talk about Shedeur Sanders and what he's got going on, which is valid, but Cam Miller is a superstar quarterback in his own right, and this North Dakota State defense has been known to be ferocious. On the other side, you got Colorado, who had one of the worst offensive lines in the country last season. Shedeur was under pressure more than any quarterback practically in the whole country, but yet he still put up really good numbers with a good group of receivers. You also got Travis Hunter there, who will play some wide receiver, mostly play cornerback. In my opinion, arguably is the best player in the entire country. And I'm not, all over Colorado like some people are. I'm not glazing the Buffaloes crazy like some people are. I don't think they're going to have an insanely good season. I honestly think they'll probably go 4-8. Again, maybe 5-7. Even though I think this team is better, the schedule is really tricky, and the Big 12 is very, very deep with lots of quality teams. And if you look at Colorado's schedule, they did not get a very favorable schedule. They have a really difficult schedule. So I am foreseeing another 4-8, maybe 5-7 season, but I don't think they have a winning season. But I do think Colorado beats North Dakota State here, and I'm going to say Colorado wins this game at home by 10 points, which currently is the actual spread right now. It's now -10 in favor of Colorado. It started out as -9, and then it went to 9.5. Now it's up to 10. Keeps shifting more and more in favor of the Buffalo because more people are looking at it going, yeah, Colorado should just win this game. They have significantly more talent. But North Dakota State will make things difficult. One last thing about Colorado I wanted to say is they do have a completely new look offense that should help out. Pat Shurmur comes in as offensive coordinator. Last year with offensive coordinator Sean Lewis, they were very up-tempo, made things very fast, which easily led to mistakes. Pat Shurmur's in. He's from the NFL, has a lot of NFL coaching experience. He likes to run a slower tempo, more pro-style offense. He's going to slow things down a bit, make things very calm for Shedeur Sanders. That'll hopefully, ideally, lead to less turnovers, and that's the only way I see North Dakota State winning this game is if they win the turnover battle. But with this new offensive look, I don't think that's going to happen. Last game, Coastal Carolina at Jacksonville State. Right now, the line is very close on this one. The Gamecocks are only favored by 2.5 points at home. Personally, I think they should be favored by more. The reason why is because Coastal Carolina has lost a lot. They lose not only their star quarterback, Grayson McCall, who's been there for the last few years. That's led them to a lot of success. He transfers to NC State, which was a huge get for the Wolfpack. But they also lose their incredible head coach, Jamie Chadwell. Now Tim Beck is the head coach. There's a lot to rebuild on this team, especially on offense. So this offense could be very, very rough. Not the same offense we've seen from the Chanticleers in the past. They have no idea who they're going to start at quarterback. The head coach, Tim Beck, said he won't announce the starter until Thursday, the day of the game. I'm going to assume that Noah Kim, the transfer from Michigan State, is going to be the starter, but that's just a guess on my part. It could be a few different options, but none of them are too terribly impressive. So that's a concern. Wide receiver group is also not very good, so they're probably going to be more run heavy. The problem is Jacksonville State, they're built to stop the run. And on the other side, the defense is going to be the strength for the Chanticleers, but that's mostly in the secondary. May win them some games down the line, but unfortunately when it comes against Jacksonville State, their quarterback, Logan Smothers, is a really good dual-threat quarterback who's going to run the ball a lot. They also have a senior, Anwar Lewis, who could have a breakout season at running back. So Jacksonville State is going to be a very run-heavy team with head coach Rich Rodriguez this season. And after what I saw from the Gamecocks last season, where they went 8-4 in the regular season, then won their bowl game and went 9-4. A lot of close games, but still their first season as a Division One FBS team, they go 9-4. I don't like betting against Jacksonville State this year, especially when they're at home. I'm actually going to say the Gamecocks. I actually wrote down that I'll have them winning by 7, but you know what? I'm actually going to say they win by 10. I feel very confident about Jacksonville State in this game, and I'm not very high on Coastal Carolina for this season. All right, guys, that is the Thursday night preview. We've got 3 great games right there. Throughout the week, I'll be releasing more videos of individual games for this Saturday. No Friday games, but I will be releasing the Saturday games and, of course, the Sunday night showdown between LSU and USC in Las Vegas. Can't wait to get into all of those. Thank you guys so much for listening, and this is the College Sports Superfan.